Welcome to the Tech Panel.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The podcast where tech minds meet.
Oh, hey, before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.
Welcome to the Tech Panel. I'm your host, James Arvin.
And I'm Sarah Bowers, and this is the podcast where we dive into cutting-edge ideas, innovations, and technologies transforming industries.
Each week, we're going to sit down with leaders and disruptors at the forefront of these changes to hear their stories and explore their vision and uncover the challenges they're solving in real time.
Today, we have a really exciting guest. Not only is he driving change in one of the most traditional industries, home building, but he's also challenging how people take control of one of the biggest projects in their lives, and that is building a dream home. Arvin, you're going through that at the moment.
I don't want to talk about
You
it.
had a lot more hair before you started.
Definitely did. I was a more attractive man before I started building my home. Danny Assagby is the CEO of BuildBuddy, a platform that empowers homeowners to bypass traditional general contractors and take full control of their home building projects. BuildBuddy gives people access to trusted subcontractors, curated suppliers, build material discounts, and step-by-step project management tools to make the process approachable, affordable, and most importantly, achievable.
Achievable is the key there. But there's another layer to this story. Danny's also the CEO of Hudson Homes, one of Australia's largest home builders, a company that relies on the very model that BuildBuddy is actually trying to disrupt. So I don't know how he works it, if BuildBuddy's competing with his original job, if he's kind of working himself out of a business. So how does he reconcile these two roles, and what does it mean for the future of the home building industry? Well, we're about to find out.
Danny, thanks so much for joining us today on the Tech Panel. I want to start by asking about the origins of BuildBuddy. What inspired the creation of the platform, and did you see a gap in the market that sort of sparked the desire to build a solution like this?
Yeah, that's a story we love telling, actually. I, as you probably know, run a major home building company. And one of the things, the service offerings I give all my customers, if you walk into any of our display homes, you'll see, there's a picture of me in a brochure and my personal phone number and email. And I encourage customers to reach out to me because the building industry is full of problems. And if there's a problem on site, I'd much rather a customer pick up the phone and give me a call to give us the first chance of fixing it. So on the phone that's right behind me there, I have a customer ring me up probably about 3.5 years ago now. And he rings me up and says, Danny, I can do a better job building my home than what you guys are doing. And I thought about it for a second. And I thought, you know what? With the right support and the right guidance, I think you could build it faster. You could certainly do it cheaper and probably even to a high standard. I said to him, after all, you're building the most important home ever built, yours. At the time we had something like 500 or 600 homes in construction, and I've got to look after that many homes. But if you're in control, and the key words are the right guidance and support. So, you get an idea, and that's when I say the seed was planted. So, because my background's not actually from the building industry. I've been a licensed builder for at least 10 years now, but prior to that, I came from a more corporate accounting, funds management background. So I really brought a fresh perspective to the building industry. And I thought to myself, what is it that we do as builders? And essentially, in very broad terms, I've narrowed it down to 3 things. One, we have a workflow that we follow, a step-by-step process on every single job. We know that you excavate the slab, and then you get the plumber to come in, and then you pour the concrete and so on. Second thing we have is we have established supplier relationships and trade relationships. We have a pool of tradespeople that we go to. We have supplier agreements to get wholesale pricing and so on. And the third key thing we have is we have expertise, site supervision. The site supervisors are really the ones that build the homes for the volume builders. So I thought, how can we take all that and the customer in control? So I had this crazy idea at the beginning of COVID to start flowcharting the whole thing. Have you ever seen an A1 sheet of paper?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I ended up with 9 A1 sheets of paper with about 2,000 boxes and about 10,000 arrows, because I had to think of, if a customer was in control, what in every single box, what are all the possible options that could happen? And I saw it, and it took up the whole floor in my office, and I thought, forget it. I folded it and I put it back in my drawer. And then a couple of months later, a very good friend of mine, who's my co-founder, Vince Marciano, my old school buddy, he went down the computer science route, and I showed him the idea. And COVID had just hit, gone into lockdowns, and he said to me, you know what? Why don't we just get started? And we did. 3 years later, We have a fully functioning platform that, when I say fully functioning, it works today, but we've got so many new ideas for the future as well, that enables anybody with little to no experience to successfully build their own home and save at least 20% in the process.
It sounds incredible. Like, I haven't used it personally, but Arvin's used it. And when I heard about it, I thought, where has this been all my life? I've done, minor renovations and, I've got a property portfolio where I rent out the property. So I'm always tinkering away and I'm always got the spreadsheets out trying to project manage it myself. And I thought there's got to be a better way. But now it's here. So talk us through the app and what you can actually do. If I've got it, how does it work from my end?
So, firstly, there's two apps. So it looks like it's one app, but it's actually two completely separate apps. There's Build Buddy and there's Build Buddy Pro, which means it does two completely separate things. The first part is a complete project management workflow software. So if you can imagine, the software tells you exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Then it connects you to the other part of the app, which is a curated marketplace of all the suppliers, contractors, and consultants that you need to build your home. So it is both a project management software and a marketplace. And that's what makes it completely unique. It also makes it very, very challenging and difficult to build. But that's what we've done. So because we've come from a very strong major home builder in both New South Wales and Queensland, we already had established supplier relationships already at wholesale pricing that we can offer exclusively to our customers. We had a trade base. Where the real work went into was developing what we are calling three-dimensional workflows. And we've never seen workflows like this. Normally workflows have the box and they say you go this direction, that direction. But we added a third dimension that not only includes time, but includes multiple prerequisites. And that's the secret sauce behind the scenes. So one of the biggest problems in the owner builder community is that nobody likes dealing with owner builders. Tradespeople don't like dealing with them. Banks don't like dealing with them. And the reason they don't like dealing with them is, with all respect, they don't know what they're doing. I was talking to one of our customers the other day and I said to him, so how many thousand homes again did you build? And he said, no, it's my first one. I said, then please listen to me.
Yeah.
There's a reason we do things in this order. And that's what the platform does. It will prevent you from being able to go ahead with the next step until you've done an earlier step. And talking about one of the biggest challenges with the software, it's trying to communicate that to real life customers. I have a lovely customer of mine who was ready to go to construction. She's run the whole process herself. And she rings me up. She says, Danny, Build Buddy's broken. I said, what's the matter? She says, preventing me from starting construction. I said, what does it say? And we looked in and it said that she hadn't selected her shower taps. She says, Danny, I haven't selected my shower taps. I said, well, go select your shower taps. She said, that's ridiculous. I don't need my shower taps for another 7 months. I said, okay, well, let me explain to you what's going to happen. Right now, your construction drawings are showing hot and cold tap. That's going to have a hot and cold tap when you shower recess. The waterproof is going to come, waterproof the wall. Those beautiful tiles you selected are going to go in, and then you're going to go down to Harvey Norman and you're going to select the $300 mixer tap. Off come the tiles, off comes the waterproofing. $10,000 later, we've installed your $300 tap. I said, do me a favor and go and select your tap. And she said to me, I get it. And that's just one example of how part of what we're doing is educating the marketplace. And we've got some fantastic ideas on how we're going to do that in the future, actually creating our own building masterclass and unraveling all the secrets that we have as builders, where I sit and talk to an engineer and say, what is it that you do, Mr. Engineer? And a 15-minute podcast like what we're doing here, I don't want my customers to be engineers, but I want them to know the purpose of an engineer and how to work with an engineer. And I think that's where the power comes.
Definitely educating and awareness and empowering the customer themselves with that knowledge is always helpful. As you said, that example is a perfect example. If you do one step before the next, it can completely stitch you up, or you've just got to wait for trades and have big delays that have that knock-on effect. I've had that before where I've skipped a step and then I've had to push everyone back, and it's not just a week back. It's, and I'm not available for a month now.
And
I've
it's
had
money as well.
Yeah, it's
costly.
Yeah, it's great.
Mistakes are costly in construction.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think it
we've
addresses
got a lot
a
of
couple
rules
things.
in place to, I'm not going to say eliminate, but act as a safety net.
I was going to say, I think it addresses a couple common challenges that most home builders experience when they jump into the process. Myself, 100% guilty of this on multiple occasions. Danny, I'm sure you can relate to this, having dealt with me being a customer. But, the idea of building a home is one of the most intoxicating things you could ever go through as like a normal person. Every element is really important to you. You're choosing what your house is going to look like, where light's going to come in, what the first experience is going to be when guests come in, and you just get caught up in the momentum of being like, I just want to do now, 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 now. And it kind of sets you up in an unhealthy mindset of thinking that these things are just things that you can just jump through, go straight to from, point A to E, F, and G, forgetting that all the prerequisite steps are skipped, just like you said, for customers. And this sort of puts those barriers in place that protect them from falling into the trap of jumping past all of the really important steps that are crucial to having any successful home builder. So I could definitely relate to where you're coming from in that regard, making sure that the system's set up in such a way that really sets people up for success and don't find themselves 6 months, 12 months down the road in the middle of a build thinking, what have I got myself into? This has been a nightmare for me. And I think, demystifying that process for customers as well is something that's going to be really special, helping them understand all of the individual micro steps that go into building your dream home at the end of the day. Yeah. But look, one thing that I've always found extremely interesting is the fact that you're also the CEO of Hudson Homes, right? One of Australia's, larger, really successful home builders in the market. Yet BuildBuddy seems to be designed to compete directly with that market. And I'm kind of wondering, how do you manage these seemingly contradictory ventures?
How
And
ironic, isn't it?
yeah,
Are
it
you
is.
working yourself out of a job by creating this
That's
app?
exactly right.
The thing is this, last year, Hudson Homes was named the Australian Home Builder of the Year.
Right.
And just last fortnight, we won the 2024 Queensland Builder of the Year. And I often meet many of the other CEOs at these building events. And one of the other major company CEOs comes up to me a couple of months ago and he says, Danny, you got rocks in your head. He goes, you're going to take all your customers from Hudson Homes over to BuildBuddy. I said, well, firstly, it's not for every customer. So it's probably only for 1 out of every 5 customers. Now, let that sink in for a second. 1 out of every 5 customers is 20% of the market. Our biggest builder, which is Metron at the moment, has less than 2% share of the market. So I said to him, sure, I might lose 1 out of every 5 customers at Hudson Homes to BuildBuddy, but I'm also taking them from you and from you and from you and from you. So this is in a unique space. There is no direct competitor to it. Nobody has been crazy enough to take on a challenge like this. Sometimes I say no one has been stupid enough to take on the challenge. But when I see a customer's reaction to not just the cost savings they have, but the personal satisfaction they get of taking a project from beginning to end, I can see this being a massive disruptor in the marketplace. So
Absolutely.
to ask you about Hudson Homes, one, I couldn't have done this if it wasn't for Hudson Homes. The supplier relationships we have, getting it off the ground with our existing site supervisors, because every single one of our customers has a licensed builder on site with them. And that's what many people don't realize. They think it's just own a building. What we've built is not own a building. Yes, you do need an owner builder permit, but we have come up with a new method of construction that we're calling collaborative construction. And what it is, it's a bridge between what Hudson Homes does as a traditional builder and where the current owner builder market exists. So it's teams working together with the same information, with a unified goal towards achieving their building objectives.
So the cost saving for the client, so as well as the discounted trades, because they're on your books, or you've developed those relationships with them. Who are you cutting out of that process from Hudson Homes and the owner builder, and then that middle ground there where you've still got a site a site planner on site? Who else? Who are you cutting out for that
I'm only
cost
cutting
saving?
out one person. I'm cutting out the middleman, which is the builder, the traditional home building company. What we're doing instead is we're getting contractors to deal directly with homeowners. We're getting consultants to deal directly with homeowners, but they are guided on site. The Construction Buddy, which is a new job that we have created. So let me just talk about the Construction Buddy, why that's so important, and how that relates to your question of cost savings. So imagine this: 15 years ago, there was no such thing as a job called an Uber driver. And then Uber came along and said, if you have a driver's license and you've got a half decent car, and I'm assuming if you've got no criminal record, then you can come on our platform and offer your services, and we'll find you customers and passengers who want to be driven around. Well, we've done exactly the same thing with the word construction buddy. It's a word that we have created. We've trademarked that word as well. And what we're creating is opportunities for licensed site supervisors, licensed builders who, let's say, for example, you've got a 55-year-old builder. He's been building for 30 years. And he says, you know what? I don't want to run a building business anymore. I don't want employees. I want to spend 3 days fishing, or I want to spend 2 days coaching my son's soccer team. But he has expertise. So he can come onto our platform and he can offer his service as a site supervisor to you. Now, this is where the power dynamic is fantastic, because he charges you a set fee. He might charge you $3,000 a month to come on site 3 or 4 times a week, but he's representing you. Whereas a site supervisor for a building company acts in the building company's best interest. And that's where the power shift and the power dynamic has really, really changed. And it's empowering consumer. And I think any product in any industry where you are truly empowering the consumer, I think is destined for success. And that construction buddy role is the way that we enable somebody with very little building experience to still have a site supervisor on site. But they also have an owner builder permit. They've got their own white card. They can turn up on site whenever they want, which they can't do when they have a licensed building company in place. And that's where I think the real appeal is. So the cost of a construction buddy is at the highest level, probably $3,000 a month, which is say $30,000 for the cost of building a home. And if you're building a $1 million home and the builder's got a 20 or 25% margin on that, that's $250,000.
Yeah. And those margins, I mean, that with the cost of materials and the cost of tradesmen as well at the moment, I mean, those margins seem to be getting higher because a build over a year or two, it fluctuates. So builders are kind of having to safeguard themselves or go bankrupt if they haven't set that right margin.
Well, it's not just the margin. See, most people confuse the gross margin with what's left for the builder. So if a builder adds, say, 20 or 25% margin, there's a difference in margin and a markup. Well, let's keep it really, really simple. You put a 20% markup on all your costs. You might end up with 3 or 4% out of that, because part of that markup is all your overheads. One of the biggest expenses that project home builders have is the cost of having a display home. So I've got 20 display homes. Each one costs me at least $1 to $1.5 million to buy. Then I've got to furnish it. Then I've got to pay fees to the company like Homeworld that's running the center. I have to staff it. Whereas all those costs are then passed on to the consumer. So what we created is we created our own virtual display village. I believe the first in the world. It's called Build Buddy World. So it's just buildbuddy.world. And you can go online and you can check it out, and you can walk virtually through 42 of our display homes. You can go upstairs, downstairs, and you can buy one of those floor plans for a fraction of the cost that it would cost you to go to an architect. For less than $2,000.
Yeah.
So we've tried to look at every part of that builder's margin and see where can we save money and help the consumer save the money. And that's what we've done.
Let's talk about that. The margin. I think this is one of the more important parts for most customers out there is, what is the bottom line? Like, what can we expect as a return on going down the route of using something like Build Buddy, in contrast of going the traditional route of using a general contractor, like most people do? So I'm going to use some high level numbers. Proofread me here if I'm getting anything wrong, but based on like original calculations here, most people want to build a house that I find is around somewhere in the park of $500,000. And this is for Southeast Queensland in my experience, right? That's getting you a 3 or 4 bedroom home. With that, you've got to put 20% down, and obviously that's your deposit, could be quite a bit. But then you've also got to think at the same exact time, like you said, the builder's got to be putting their margin on this. So just $500,000 with a builder's margin on top of it could be something like $650,000 home, right? The value of the home probably being around $500K. After the GC comes in, takes 25, 30% off the top. Now we're dealing with a $650,000 build, right? You're essentially cutting out the middleman, being the general contractor. So you're more or less going directly to the subcontractors, which is also one of the greatest things that you're going to be getting access to with something like Build Buddy, is trusted vendors, which is the one thing most builders, or home builders, I would say, are most fearful of, right? I don't know anything about subcontractors. I've never managed one. I hear terrible stories.
Yeah.
They never show up on time or they do dodgy work. And I have this all the time. I speak to people and they say, I looked at the work after they said it was completed. And I looked at it and I went, yep, that looks like a wall, having no idea that it was actually a horrible build and had to be torn down. Right. But then what we could be dealing with here is after we're starting with a $600,000, we could reduce that back down to a $500,000 home. And then there's additional savings on top of that, where again, you're getting those in-house rates to your own trusted subcontractors. And the other really great thing here is the materials. The fit out of the home is massive. I think this is one thing that most people overlook when they're trying to build a home is they think if I try to do it on my own, I get to choose my own washer dryer and I'm not stuck with whatever the builder's telling me I have to use. I get to use whatever tiles I want and I don't have to choose from a list. But those items that they have, they chose them because they have a special discount on all those products. If you try to buy them on your own, you're paying market value, which is exponentially more expensive. And you're essentially saying, take advantage of all of our supplier agreements, all of the materials and products, white label goods that we have available to us. And again, you're just making significant savings in that area as well. I think that's pretty unique. Have you seen anything else like that on the market that people can take advantage of?
No, it does not exist. So 50% of the cost of a home is buying materials. The other 50% is the trades.
Yeah.
And the problem with tradespeople is that builders try to screw them down for the lowest price possible. So they're not making much money. They're barely earning more than a wage, the ones who work for the volume home builders.
Mm-hmm.
Our philosophy is a bit different. So with our platform, yes, we curate them before they get on, but the marketplace determines who stays and who goes. And we've used the review system. So each tradesperson is reviewed in 5 different categories and are also the first people to introduce the net promoter score method of reviewing people into the building industry.
Mm-hmm.
So now the consumer has a method in being able to select who the good trades are and who the bad trades are. And the people who better perform for the customer, the tradespeople who look after the customer, do the right thing, will get better reviews and hopefully will earn more money. So if you've got a framing carpenter and let's say the two of us come in at $8,000 and a third person comes in at $10,000, they're $2,000 dearer. But they've got 35-star reviews and glowing comments and only 2-3 stars. I believe the consumer who's not paying a builder's margin on anything will choose the better quality trade because their savings significantly come from a lot of the materials because we get some big savings there. So let's make big savings on the materials and let's give some of those savings back to the trades.
And I think we didn't do you justice in the beginning talking about, how you're potentially taking market away from Hudson. I actually see this from a completely different light. I see a completely untapped market, like where you said maybe 1 out of 5 home builders is going to go to Build Buddy. But I see that now as unlocking 8 home builders now, where 3 never had the money to go through a traditional general contractor route.
It's true.
They've just been left saving money, like myself, waiting for one day where the market becomes a bit more affordable, where now you're essentially saying, we're creating a new path for you to go down where you can build money at the level of money that you can afford. And that's something I don't think anyone else is taking advantage of, which I think is discouraging a lot of people going into the market and exacerbating some of the problems we're seeing globally.
And I actually find that we have different types of customers going to Hudson Homes compared to those going to Build Buddy. So there'll always be the vast majority of people wanting to go with the traditional home builder until this becomes more mainstream. And I think when people, so take it for example, let's say you build a home and you go through this process and it all works out well through Build Buddy. And then your sister comes along and she says, well, you don't know much about building. How did you do this? And then you're going to start boasting. You're going to say, well, I had this workflow and I had these tasks I had to do every single day. And I had this construction buddy guiding me along the way. And she takes on the project and she successfully builds a home. But then she goes to work and she tells somebody else and then it becomes mainstream. So I think once it goes through that 3-generation of customer cycle, we've got the early adopters now, the ones who are willing to take a bit of a chance. It's a brand new platform. As that progresses, I think it will change. Now, it might take 3, 4, 5 years, but what we're trying to build is the future of home building. And like I said earlier, when you empower the consumer, I think magic happens.
Well, you'll always have those people that are the DIYers or the people that are always willing to give it a go, and some of those that are just a bit too scared. So that empowerment will make those people that are a bit too scared to make the move,
Correct.
See that they'll be able to track their budgets. And I mean, I've done a lot of renos and I still go over budget all of the time, or I still stuff up. And every time I learn from it. So Something like this is great for anyone that wants to have control over their
Yeah,
project, or
absolutely.
anyone that wants to be really involved. There'll always be the people that go, I want someone else to build my house for me. I do not want the stress
Mhm.
of it. And then there's those people that seem to gravitate to stress and challenges like
Yeah.
myself, who go, I really want to get involved and I want to be hands on with it.
Yeah. But so you're assuming then that if somebody goes to a third party builder, that they're not stressed.
It's not as much,
They
but it
love the
still is
process
stressful.
because the process is frustrating. It's very, very
Yeah.
difficult. And there's no transparency and they don't know what's going on. And they have to rely on the builder to call them every 2 weeks to say, this is what we've done. So that process is not perfect as well. I mean, the building industry has not changed since World War II. It's one of the only industries that hasn't really had a major disruptor. And we feel, again, by empowering the consumer, we could be that disruptor.
Tell me honestly, what some of those problems are. What are the problems with Australia's building industry today?
So the biggest problem is this. Last year, nearly 3,000 home builders went bust.
Hmm.
If you've appointed a builder to your home and you've got half a house, what do you do? Now, people think homeowners warranty covers them, but when you understand how homeowners warranty works, it doesn't. It's a flawed system, and the Housing Industry Association is doing a major submission to try and revamp the entire homeowners warranty structure because it's just not working. So, with home builders going bust, two people really suffer. The homeowner suffers, and it's all the tradespeople and suppliers because they're often the last people who are paid. There was an episode of SBS Insight, and I was invited as a CEO of a major company along with one other major home builder as well. And they had a couple of tradespeople there talking about their experience of builders going bust. And at the end of the show, I had to hug one of the young boys there and say to him, mate, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Young guy, 26 years of age, 2 kids, 3 builders had gone bust. He'd lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. He was talking about suicide. And when you hear somebody go through something like that, you can't help but feel that something needs to change. So something as simple as payments and securing payments on our platform, you cannot lose money. All payments are done via a digital wallet that act like an online trust account. So one by one, every single issue we're trying to fix via a technological solution.
I think
There's so many other things as well that we could probably spend the next couple of hours talking about.
Tell us some of the other things. What are the other things that we're curious about it?
Okay, so transparency is a very big issue. People have lost trust in building companies. People think builders are dodgy. Now, I can tell you, I'm friends with a lot of the CEOs and general managers of many other major building companies. They're not dodgy. They're honest, hardworking people that always want to do the right thing by customers. But the industry itself fails them. So when we're at the liberty and control of tradespeople, sometimes customers don't believe what we say to them. They'll say to us something like, I'll give a perfect example. I received a phone call a couple of years ago from another customer who rings me up and says, Danny, Hudson Homes, you guys are the worst painters. And I said, okay, tell me why. Sends me through a couple of photos. The job wasn't fantastic. I want to do the right thing. So I ring up Barry, our paint, and I said, Barry, listen, mate, this particular job here, oh, sorry, Danny, I'll let you down. I'll go back out and I'll fix it. I'll be there on Wednesday. Didn't think anything further. I ring up the customer, said, Mr. So-and-so, the painter, Brian, will be out there on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't hear anything. And on Friday, a 1-star review pops up on my screen saying Hudson Homes are the worst painters, don't honor their promises. So I ring up Barry. I said, Barry, what happened on Wednesday? He goes, oh, mate, I didn't go. I said, why not? He goes, surf was up. True story. So I thought to myself, here we are trying to do the right thing by the customer. The customer left me, the builder, a bad review, which was unwarranted. Who should have got the bad review? It should have been the painter. But there is no mechanism. The customer saying, well, it's your problem. And that is our problem. As the builder, we take on that responsibility. But again, when you put the customer in control and they can see the transparency, they will leave a bad review for that person on the Build Buddy platform. And that person will either improve or respectfully get off the platform.
Do you
The
feel
other
like
thing with building is the costs. So the
That was
cost
my
of
next
building has gone
question.
up by more than 40% in the
Yeah.
past 3 years. That's substantial. And a lot of people just simply cannot afford to build anymore. And that doesn't mean the builders are making more money, because I can tell you, I don't think there's a single builder who's bragging about how much profit they made over the past 3 years. So yeah, there's multiple reasons.
Cost of materials obviously has gone up astronomically, but what do you think about the cost of what the trades are getting paid? From my point of view, I, sit on the same sort of wage year after year, and all
That's
of a
right.
sudden I'm, handing out $60 for an unqualified labourer to just dig a hole, or $100 at least minimum for any trade to sort of come out and come on site. So, yeah, thoughts on
Supply and
that?
demand, isn't it? Supply and demand, like with anything else. And one of the problems in the greater building industry is we don't have enough tradespeople going through the system. Um, the younger generation, they used to do an apprenticeship. The number of apprenticeships, and I don't know the exact statistic, but I remember reading somewhere that it was something that was down by something like 70%. There's other career opportunities that pay so much better. Being a YouTuber pays a lot more, or a TikToker pays a lot more, and is a lot more pleasant for somebody than being a brickies labourer. So having more people come through the industry it's an industry-wide issue, and I don't propose that we have a solution for that. The building industry is a wonderful industry. It's one of our biggest industries, and being able to have people come into that industry in a way that they can feel they can get work, I think our platform will provide that for the good trades. But that's something that's an industry-wide problem that we need to see fixed here in Australia.
Do you feel like it's the tail getting the dog getting wagged by the tail? Uh, I kind of wonder here, like I see this in the US all the time.
Sometimes.
We've got subcontractors out there that are getting paid pretty decent salaries. And someone over there would say, like, oh, they get paid way too much for what the job is. Like you said, if I got someone coming out here to dig a hole, why am I paying him $60 an hour? My dad maybe do that for free and I didn't get anything out of it. Um, Obviously, they need to get paid money. Everyone does out there. Everyone, I feel like,
Sure.
should be able to live a good life. But then you've got a builder, which I feel like most people would look at, this person goes to 4 years minimum to get the experience to become a certified builder. And then they've got to have the experience of actually doing it for a couple of years. And then you're expecting somewhere around for a project manager between 90, maybe 120K for an early role. And then I'm looking here on Seek, and it looks like your average carpenter is making 150K a year. And that's, I'm kind of wondering, like, how can any builder sustain those prices? And then we're complaining like we've got a housing crisis. No houses are getting built. Do you think it's because prices are just starting to go a little bit rampant in Australia?
It's not. There's multiple reasons why home affordability is where it's at right now in Australia. So let's start before we even get to the tradespeople. Let's talk about land. So as a builder, one of the things that we do at Hudson Homes, we develop our own land. More than 50% of the cost of me developing a block of land on, say, the Central Coast of New South Wales is government fees. So we have to pay council contributions. Council contributions, I remember I bought a site, it was a 120 lot site. I bought it for $48,000 a site, and my council contributions for each lot was $68,000. So I had to pay more as a donation to council, and that is obviously added onto the price. There's the first issue that we have. And now there's stick levies and there's a whole lot of other things. There's GST that needs to be added onto it. So if the government wants to talk about housing affordability, then let's talk about reducing the cost of land. And let's have a look at where that cost of land is what the value of a cost of land is made up of. And you'll see that a lot of them is government fees. Now, moving into the construction phase of things, like you said, everybody needs to be paid and everybody needs to earn a decent wage in return for what they do. So at one stage, we were paying $1.80 to lay a brick. And then at the beginning of 2022, we have 3 months of rain. The implications of COVID start coming in. And in 2021, builders had sold more homes than we'd ever sold before. Our sales nearly tripled. It was fantastic. I was loving it at Hudson Homes. But what you sell in 2021, you build in 2022. Now, we sold them at 2021 prices. We allowed 2 or 3% inflation, which is normal. Then what happened? It started raining. We had war over in Russia start. We had our forestries go through bushfire, and the cost of timber went up more than 80%. We carry those costs. When every single builder was about to start building their home, what's one of the early trades we need? We need concreters. We need bricklayers. We're all fighting over bricklayers. I remember at one stage, the number of frames and trusses that we would get allocated to us was so small that I had to actually drive them up on a truck from Sydney to support our Queensland business. So the cost of laying a brick went up from $1.80 to $4. Now, you would imagine that with a tradesperson or a bricklayer having that opportunity, they would work as much as they can. But what they did instead is they worked a third of the time they used to work. They thought, well, I'm making the same money, but I'm only going to take on a third of the job. So that was something that never made sense to me. But now, when you say that the tail wagging the dog, that's what happens when tradespeople control the industry. Is everybody loses, but it's turning around. So 3 years ago in 2020, or 4 years ago now, 2021, I had said that building industry is going to go through a bit of pain. I could predict because of my financial background and economics background. I could kind of predict and see what was going to happen over the next couple of years. And I remember saying to my builder friends that we need to just survive till 25. And that became our mantra. And a lot of people have used that ever since. And what we're seeing at the moment is that the builders are starting to take a little bit more control. Sales at Hudson Homes went from, this high every month, 50 or 60 sales down to, 10 sales a month. And every single builder was going through the same thing. Again, what we sell this year, we build next year. So if the pipeline of work going into the building industry to feed the trade base has dropped by that much, who suffers? It's the tradespeople. And that's when prices come down. As a matter of fact, there's an article in the Fin Review yesterday that said sales for new home building is the lowest it's been in 4 decades. That's 40 years. So it has a flow-on effect, and it goes in, ebbs and tides.
Is it, I've heard this a lot, right? I always hear this, whether it's buying a home or building one, they say it's going to turn around. But in the last 15 years of watching the market, I've never seen a single time it turn around. It just plateaus. A lot of people think to themselves, it's going to come back to, it never goes back down.
Oh, no, it never goes
It
back
just
down.
stops
I haven't
going up,
seen
it
that.
feels like.
People are used to
does still
paying
go up
this
and down.
price now.
Yeah.
So it's, it's
That's
almost setting that benchmark.
That's exactly right. Do
Yeah.
you feel subbies are going to be like one day, all right, I'll walk away from a quarter of my salary?
So what happens, like the property market, it goes up and down, but it goes up and down in an upward, forward-moving fashion, doesn't it? So the next dip is never less than the last peak. So the same thing happens in this industry, but it's supply and demand. Problem we have is that there is a significant imbalance at the moment. We used to have a lot more tradies, don't have as many anymore.
Well, I love that this is, I guess, one solution to some of the problems. Build Buddy, empowering the homeowner to start their build or get involved in their build and do it for less. I really liked the idea of the app helping with the design phase and also some of that council approval sort of knowledge, because that's a whole other ball game
Right.
that you have to navigate before you even think about the build.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that side of the app and also the technology and how you're actually, I guess, making that work at the back end.
Yeah. So what we've done is we've integrated with another company that has something like 240 daily data drops on every single council in Australia, every single DCP, every single LEP, and all that information is put into our platform. We have
Sorry, can you just explain what a DCP is, or what was the other one?
Oh, sorry,
I don't know what it is. Other people won't.
a local environment plan, and they're basically development guidelines that council issues. So when you go into council, you can get a copy of the LEP, and it tells you what the local environment plan is. So, for example, it will say if you have a 450 square meter block of land, you can only build, say, 3 meters high or 5 meters high, and you have to be, 1 meter in from the edge and so on. So all that
Your
information is put
zoning
into
and
the
all of
software.
all of that
That's right.
interplays, and they all contradict each other, and
Mhm.
it's so
Correct.
much data to sift through even manually reading it. So I
That's
thought
right. So normally you
there's
have to go
got to
through
be
a town
something
planner.
working in the background. Yeah.
That's correct. So all that information comes onto our platform, and a user goes in, they fill in a wizard, and based on the questions they ask in the wizard, we will determine their workflow. And we would know the algorithms that we have automatically create the workflow that's most suited to that customer in the location they're in. So if they don't have a floor plan, they're directed towards having a look at this, what we call the designer software. And every single floor plan that we have on the platform it will show you in an instant which ones will fit on your block of land. And again, you can search, you can have a look at the topography of the land, and you can drag and drop that onto your block of land and see that in 3D. Now, it's not going to give you a council approval, but it's going to tell you if you won't get one, or if it doesn't comply, and you can actually do it via CDC. So it's compliant with both CDC rules and with the development approval rules as well. So CDC being the fast stream complying development um, certificate.
That's incredible because it cuts out that town planner cost, which I've had those consultancy charges just rack up
Well, let me clarify that.
from
It
right at the
won't
start.
cut out those costs, but what
It
it
won't?
does, no, because we still rely on people to do the work.
Yeah.
Because when the time comes, it will tell you, one, not every job needs a town plan. But let's say, for example, you do need a town planner. What this does, it gives you the information and the knowledge before you meet the town planner. And it preps you. But if you still need a town planner, you will need a physical town planner to
Yeah.
physically do the work for you.
You could look
But
at
what it
doing
does
a
is
renovation. Oh, sorry. You could look at doing a renovation or a build that is compliant with all of the council codes. So
Exactly
that
right.
would sort of eliminate, that bulk of that town planning work, having to justify why you need that relaxation,
right.
why you need to go that extra meter out to the side. That stuff all really, really helps because if you just go and design something and then you go to the town planner and try to make that work, it racks
it
up the
back.
costs, it racks up the DA application. So if you can work within those parameters from the start, and then figure out what your must-haves and whatnot are, then I think that's a brilliant first step.
Sounds a bit personal,
And that's
Sarah.
It's very
exactly
personal.
what it is. It's a
Yeah,
first step.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that's not there because I've had to manually do that. I just have to look through the LEPs
Yeah, it
and
takes hours. And
it's
not just
hours.
hours, you have to have the knowledge of know
Yeah.
what you're looking for as well. Now, of course, you can go to an architect and they can do all that for you as well. But like I said, it's just the first step because, have you ever heard the saying, if you hand a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man how to fish, they can eat for a lifetime. And it's exactly the same with this. So we're trying to arm you with the information so that you can do this again and again and again. As a matter of fact, at Build Buddy, we want our slogan to be, and it's not this today, but it will be in 5 years' time. Build Buddy, what would you like to build today? Because everything we have is workflow driven. So today we offer new homes. Tomorrow we offer new homes and granny flats. Tomorrow it will be renovations, swimming pools, outdoor pergola, kitchen renovation, bathroom renovation, because it's all workflow driven. And again, it's workflow driven, but connecting people to people.
Beautiful. On that note, tell us about the future. What's in store? What have you got planned?
I think Build Buddy could be global. Actually, I know Build Buddy could be global. We recently won a competition in Australia. It's called the Startup World Cup. And my marketing, my chief marketing officer, Elise, who's behind her and the team is behind all the wonderful things that we do here at Build Buddy and visuals that people see, including UX, entered us into this competition. And I've never pitched before. So I had a couple of minutes to get up and talk about Build Buddy. I won. And they flew me over to San Francisco and I had to compete with 100 other people from around the world. We didn't win the big competition over in the US, but I met a lot of investors and investors said, I'll fund you 100% to come and set up in America. We need you in California. We have a housing shortage as well. I met another young guy there as well who worked for, was one of the biggest hardware companies in Zambia in the middle of Africa. And I explained to him what Build Buddy was, and I randomly got an email from him 2 weeks ago saying exactly what you said to me at the start of this session. I'm in love with Build Buddy. He made me an offer yesterday to joint venture with him to bring it to Zambia. I don't know if we're going to do that, if we're quite ready yet. For me, I have one focus, and that is we have 100 homes to build right now. We have 130 odd people on the platform. We want to deliver those 100 homes. We want to learn from those 100 loans. So we want to nail it before we scale it. And then we want to take it around the rest of Australia, and then we will go international.
You spoke to me a bit about the future, something that we haven't touched on yet, but I think is particularly unique. And I hope I'm not spilling any beans here or something that isn't completely gone out, but you offer loans through your company as well. And I think this is one of the more unique challenges for anyone being a home builder. So for anyone listening, not unaware of this, if you go to a home or to your traditional bank and ask for a loan, they're going to tell you to get stuffed.
Well,
And
nobody
they
likes
won't
owner
even
builders.
feel bad about
You've
it.
got to remember that. Nobody likes owner builders. I was on Facebook group last night, owner builder group, and somebody asked the question, has anybody been able to get an owner builder loan?
Yeah.
And I didn't, but I felt like writing, give us a call. We've set up, again, one of the early things we identified is banks don't like owner builders and tradespeople don't like owner builders. So
Mhm.
how do we solve this problem? I came up with a new word, collaborative construction. So I pitched it to the banks about 12 months ago. First thing I get is, oh, it's owner builder, not interested, not interested.
There we
Then
go.
I said, have a look at the software and have a look at what we do. So now we have our own product with a major lender here in Australia. We're setting it up as a mortgage manager. We call it Finance Buddy. And we can get equivalent loans for people that they would get under any normal construction loan at similar rates. I think it's like 0.2% higher during the construction period, but they will go up to 95%. I'm only capping it at 80% because I do want to make sure that customers we get have that additional equity. But we have our own finance product now. It's called Finance Buddy. And the only catch is you have to use the platform because what you do is you actually invite the bank onto your platform and it's got full expense management and they can see if you're over budget, under budget. They get alerts. So we've satisfied every concern the bank has had. The other thing they love is that there is a licensed builder on site,
Mm.
which is your construction buddy. So provided you use the Build Buddy platform, you can get a Finance Buddy loan.
Makes so much
Provided again you
sense. Yeah.
qualify as you would normally with serviceability and LVR under a normal loan.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's a lot of cowboys out there and a lot of people that think they can do it and they can't. So I understand the banks would be nervous. So this is like,
Yeah,
it's a great safety option for them. So that makes total sense to
yeah,
kind of
yeah. Well, I had a few
offer that as
people
a
that I
service.
have very politely asked to get off the platform because they didn't want to follow the workflow. They want to do it themselves. I said, well, you don't need me. There's high pages for you. You can go and find your tradies from high pages. But if you don't follow the rules, the platform doesn't let you go any further. And
Yep.
people get frustrated with that because, again, respectfully, they think they know better, but they don't.
Yeah. There's a system and there's a plan to follow, and
Yeah.
that's where your expertise comes in.
There's a reason we've built that
Yeah.
into it. It's not
Yeah.
because I want to slow the bill down. It's I don't want to have to come back and do rework, and I don't want to frustrate the tradespeople who go out on site and say, "Well, hang on, mate, I wasn't ready to come here today. Oh, this Build Buddy thing's crap." So I've got to look after two people. I've got to look after the trades, and I've got to look after the customers.
Mm. And you said at the moment it's set up for new home builds. Well,
Yes,
when would the renovation sort of element be ready to roll out? That's what I'm interested in
last 12
personally.
months ago, I would have said it'll be ready now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 12 months from now.
Okay.
I've
Yeah.
deliberately kept pushing it back because building a house follows the exact same workflow. You start with a beautiful blank
Yeah.
canvas.
Mm.
But when you're renovating, you don't know what that first step is. And that's where we're working with some AI engineers right now. And what we want to do is we want to have AI be able to interpret a set of plans and come up with that workflow. Um, we're not there yet, but we will be because renovations is a massive market. Now, we can actually do it now, but we have to do it manually. When I say manually, we've got to set up the workflow manually. And I can do that if we've got 5 or 10 customers, but I want to build the platform so it has tens of thousands of customers
Yeah.
and use technology to do that. So I want to do it properly. In the meantime, we've got plenty of houses to build. We've got plenty of houses to learn from, and we'll focus on that first.
Yeah. And that's what we love here as well at the tech panel is using technology to make something easier and solve a problem. So is there anything on that note? Is there any technology that you've used in this startup in building Build Buddy that you couldn't live without? Any software or tech
That we have developed or fixed
that
externally.
that you've found incredibly helpful?
I'm going to have to say a CRM,
Yep.
our client relationship management
Yep. Which
software,
one?
our customer relationship management software system. Um, we run our business by it. I don't think any business could survive without that. And I think it's probably one of the best inventions in business. Most of the tech on our platform, actually all of the tech on our platform has been developed in-house. We've got 14 full-time software engineers and they use their own software as well. And quite frankly, I've heard names like Figma and a few other things, and I don't even know what they are. That's why I've got Vince. Vince is the one that's responsible for doing all that tech stuff. He's the brains behind the whole thing.
What's your CRM platform? Do you know what one it is?
We were using HubSpot,
Yep.
and then we shipped it to Monday to do a certain element, and now we've merged it all together to one called Go High Level.
Okay, great.
Go high level. I haven't heard
Yeah.
of that one.
Yeah, I know of the other two, and I
Yeah.
use Monday.
Yeah,
That's what
it's a
I use
smaller
Monday to
company.
actually
It's smaller software that didn't
workflow.
have all the bells and whistles that the other one did, but it was perfect for us, and it enabled us to integrate easily with our platform. We're all about automations, and it enabled us to do that.
So of the beta users that you're working with right now,
Yep.
and off the back of the conversation we had earlier, you said, we don't want to expand into other areas in the market until we get things right with our current customers.
I understand.
What are some of the key takeaways that you've learned from working with them at this point?
Well, the first thing is making sure the workflows are right. So we can practice the workflow 1,000 times in our lab, in our office environment. But you take that workflow and you put it out there in the real world, and it's going to tell you whether it works or it doesn't work. And there's a lot of things we're learning on that as well. For example, just this morning, I was meeting with our head of operations, and I made one small change, which is a major change. Something as simple as having a tradie having to click a button when he goes off site. So instead, we're going to come up with a way to automate that through geofencing and just simple things like that. That remember, we're trying to create something new in an industry that doesn't normally like technological changes.
Mhm.
There haven't been any significant technological change other than software for builders to use. But out there in the real world, there hasn't been anything. So that's a big challenge. I want to get that part right before we go into other areas.
What have some of the challenges been in building this app in building Build Buddy?
Um, I was going to cancel the Build Buddy project, I reckon, at least 5 times in the last 3 years, because you come across a challenge and you think, oh my God, how are we going to solve this? But then we just do. The biggest challenge I think I have right now is getting customers to trust us. Not trust us as an organization, but trust reason we do things a certain way. Um, Everybody thinks they know better. Um, Owner builders think they know better. They don't. We've made thousands of mistakes, and there's reasons we put things into place. So I'm hoping that with increased education, with people saying, listen, use this platform, but don't go off platform. Don't do this yourself. Don't do that yourself. Because we actually have the ability of customers to do certain things themselves. For example, we want customers to save money. If you get a quote from a plumber that says, it's $15,000 for your plumbing, but I've allowed $3,000 to dig this trench manually because I can't get my bobcat in there. You can actually go through, change your scope of works and say, you know what, I'm going to get a slab of beer on the weekend, get a couple of my mates around, and we're going to dig that trench and save
Mhm.
yourself $3,000. You are allowed to do that on the platform. But what I'm talking about is workflow. Follow the workflow, follow the step-by-step process that we do as professional builders, and you won't go wrong. So the biggest challenge is getting customers to believe that.
Yep.
We'll get there.
Yep.
I'm thinking to myself, my own personal experiences, which has not been the most enjoyable trying to procure land and build a home. Full disclosure, I'm actually, again, using Build Buddy right now. And it only started to get easier once I started using their tool. But I was just thinking to myself, you know, where I could have been today, all the stress that I couldn't have been relieved of if I'd used it from the beginning. For example, having built or bought the land, just thinking to myself, okay, got design covenants, I've got the land. How hard can it possibly be to just continue on the typical model of sourcing your subcontractors, sourcing your architects, engineers, designing the home and whatnot? And it's just been a complete debacle, completely honest. But if we had something that was with Build Buddy, and honestly, if you even took the system a little bit further and had it connected, I think, to a lot of these developers where they're like, here's all the plots of land. Someone goes into Build Buddy, they
Yeah.
see the plots of land, and it shows you what you could do before you buy the land. Jeez, would that have made my life a billion times easier,
Yeah.
right? But I think, it's just fantastic in the way that you've got your own architects, you've got your own designers in there, you've got people that can read the plans, you've got people once you build the home or think you've got the right design picked out, you can connect them with the people that can actually vet the drawings and the design and make sure it's ready before it goes out. All of these things are things you never even think about. And they're all right there available to you in a one-stop shop, which I think is another thing that most customers want today. We don't want to,
We don't want 10 apps.
I
We
don't
don't
want
want
10
to do,
apps.
Grows
I
with
don't want
you
to
as
do high
well.
pages and this and that and
That's
everything
exactly
else
right.
separately.
As
Yeah.
you progress through the platform, new features appear. For example, the bill of quantities. So as a builder, there's 3 things I would start a job without. And this is the biggest challenge I've had with customers, convincing them that the plans that their architect has given them, their permit plans, are not good enough to build a house with. And they're saying,
Yeah.
but my architect said I can build my house with these permit plans. I said, yeah, but architects believe that houses can be built with skyhooks. You need a good set of construction drawings. And a lot of customers saying, oh, I know what's going to happen. If they start building without it, there's going to be mistakes on site. Tradespeople aren't even going to quote on them. They're going to
Mhm.
look at this and say, hang on a second, what am I quoting on these plans for? There's so many questions I have. So what they do is they increase their price. So I say to them, step number one, get a good set of construction plans. The next thing I won't build a house without is a bill of quantities. I don't want to fly blind. I want to know exactly what it's going to cost me to build this house. I want to know how many bricks I need to build. And we have a very detailed bill of quantities. That section of the app doesn't open up where it does fantastic financial management until you get your bill of quantities. And the third thing is your selections. Like the example I gave earlier about the shower taps. Get all your selections done before you go on site, because plumber needs to know what type of tap, how much of a gap to leave, and so on. And if you follow those rules and do it properly, customers weren't doing their selections. And we've got a wonderful selections platform, and there's something like 300 selections they got to make. They pick the first 20, the fun stuff, their
Mhm.
ovens, their stoves, their carpets, their flooring, and the other 280 things they forget about. But it doesn't let them go to site till they do that. So now we've got someone in to help them do that, guide them, and then when they get it done, they realize, oh yeah, that was actually really good. So yeah, we'll slowly work through all that.
Frankly, those are the only parts I care about in building my home. You guys take care of the rest. Something that's stood out to me is the fact that you said you thought about quitting 5 times.
Yeah.
You know, I think that requires a type of personal character to drive a company like yours, someone to accept that there is a very human element that tells you it's time to put the towel in, and you've continued to continually push past that. What do you think is keeping you invested into the process and continually building?
No, it's the little wins. It's you do something for one particular customer and you see that how, like I've got one of our first customers in Queensland who were very fortunate to get just from a little Facebook post. But he came to us already DA approved. So he was well ahead of where other customers were. In actual fact, we weren't even quite ready for him. But he still used the platform, started building in May. And every time I fly up to Queensland, I make a point of driving past his house. And the guy gives me the biggest hug and goes, Danny, this is the best thing that I've ever done. He's going to be moving into his home by Christmas. So he's followed the process. He's loving the process. So it's those little wins like that that just keeps going. And we're past the point now of wanting to pull the plug. We're well and truly past. But at the beginning, people would give me objections as to, well, how are you going to solve that? Hey, as a builder, I'd think, how am I going to solve that? No, you need a builder. But then together, we've got a fantastic team. We've got a great leadership team. We work through it. Yeah, and there's going to be new challenges in the future that we don't know about. You work through it, and it just gets better and better every year. When I first had the first version of the platform, I turned to our team and I said, oh, guys, I don't like it. We can't release it. And then our CTO sends me a picture of what Facebook looked like when they launched. And I thought, ugh,
Yeah.
it just gets better every year.
That was a game-changing system when I looked at it Facebook. Came from
Yeah.
I have
MySpace.
one friend. Yeah, it's incredible, this passion that you've got to, I guess, make the customer experience better. And you can see that with Hudson Homes as well, that you're very customer centric. But to have
Absolutely.
a successful business that is Hudson Homes, and then say we can fix the problems with the industry, we can make customers happier, we can attract new customers, to have that drive and to actually build something like this and create something like this while still running something successful that it's also competing with. It's an incredible drive that you've got there.
I'm just nuts. I don't know.
Yeah.
You could be a meme. I feel like you're the
Oh,
perfect representation of that hold my beer meme where someone's like general contractor CEO. Surely this guy has no energy to take anything else. And then you're just like, watch me.
Yeah, it feels like that sometimes.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you think we haven't covered today? I think we've had a great interview. I've been really fascinated by it. You've done a great job. But is there anything else that you wanted to get across that we haven't covered?
I've thoroughly enjoyed the chat, and hopefully your listeners enjoyed as well. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, I love that you're disrupting in the industry. And is there any chance you could give us just that one quick overview of Build Buddy and your mission to disrupt an industry that doesn't like disruption.
You're
Something
almost
like
like
that
saying,
again. Just give us like the elevator pitch again.
I was going to
So,
say, imagine this, the homeowner in complete control of their entire home building journey. Well, that's Build Buddy. There's my little ad.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Love it. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really happy. Thank you so much for your time
Yeah,
today.
appreciate it. Thank you for having
Danny,
me.
yeah, incredible, and we wish you every success. And I'm certainly going to check out the app myself. And I know that Arvin over here, who's had he's lost a few hairs. He was he was like Fabio before he started his home build, and now look at him.
You're not building through the Build Buddy platform, though, are you?
No, I am
He's
right
just
now.
started
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah, he's
Oh,
just
let me look. I
started.
can tell you everything about your project while I'm here, and that's the good thing about it. We've got an expert guidance support team. What surname have you got in there?
It's Yasmin. Yasmin. Oh, I don't want to put her name out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know your project very well.
There you
You're
go.
having major issues with your
Developer.
developer. Oh,
Yeah.
I did not realize it was you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, you're a
There you
case
go.
study on what can go really wrong
Yeah.
with development
I know,
approvals.
Seriously.
You've got 2 tasks to complete. I can see.
I've got 100 of them.
You've got 2 tasks that need to be done now. One of them is to request quotes for your cost estimate and request quotes for building approval certification, which is where you're stuck right now.
That's exactly
Your land developer
right.
is not being very friendly to you, is he?
No, they're not. And not just me, many other people as well.
Yeah.
If only you had it from the start.
That's
when,
exactly
and
right,
you
that's what I'm
could,
saying.
and that's the thing that I found incredible is that whole, you can look at your parameters for your build and just make that build a little bit more realistic rather than doing the dream home that's
Mhm.
going to push every relaxation and every boundary and how far do you really want to go. You can kind of work within the parameters or see what's doable. That's what I loved about that early stage design phase
Yeah.
of the app.
Yeah, you're really at the beginning of your journey, aren't you? I can't wait till you get your teeth into this. But as soon as you get over that one hurdle with your land developer, very, very strict design guidelines in that estate. And
Yeah, they do. They
yeah,
really
it's
do.
very weird.
Well, when Arvin's build progresses, you'll be the one driving past to check on it and he'll
Yeah.
be yelling out,
100%.
"Thanks, mate."
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad I made that connection.
There you go.
you go. That's
it's
it.
brilliant.
Good on you. Been a
Well,
pleasure.
thank you again for your time, Danny. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and we look forward to chatting with you again one day soon on the Tech Panel.
Absolutely. We'll check in again sometime in the future.
Have
Catch
a
you.
good one.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Me again. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning into the Tech Panel. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, Codeworthy, for powering today's episode. And join us again on the next episode of the Tech Panel, where tech minds meet.